Good afternoon, everybody. Sports Information Director Jacob Horton here, and we want to welcome you all to episode 2 of AUM Athletes Access. I'm joined today by an all-star cast, and that's both literally and figuratively, as this week's episode is concentrated on our women's basketball program. And real quick, before we get started, we'll give you a quick history lesson on the program. It began in 1986, and in that 34-year span, we've compiled a record of 707 and 374. That marks for a win percentage right at about 650, and that's in both the NAIA and more recently the NCAA Division II level. Our women's program has made 19 NAIA national tournament appearances and produced 31 All-Americans, 27 All-Conference players, 20 All-Region, 16 All-District. And a few of those are here with us today. We're very so lucky to have them. Our panel consists of both players and coaches from a few different eras within the history of our women's basketball program. And we're going to have them introduce themselves to you guys here pretty shortly. And here's what we're going to do. Just to keep things as organized as possible, I'm going to call on a panel member, and they'll introduce themselves and just provide you with a little bit of background information about who they are, when they played at AUM, and what they've been up to in their professional careers since they've left AUM. So we're going to start with our a player that left her mark on this program not too long ago, and that's Torrey Carter.
Oh. How y'all doing? I'm Torrey. I played with 2013 through 2016, graduated in 2018. Right now, I'm working at Buffalo Rock and coaching basketball at Jeff Davis High School in Montgomery, Alabama.
Right, and next we have Hailey Mcentire, Rosa.
Hey guys, I'm Hailey. I played from 2005 to 2011 and then was also a member of the coaching staff from 2012 to 2015. And I am currently the assistant athletics director and academic advisor at Evangel Christian Academy, as well as coaching girls basketball here.
And next we have Dr. Crystal Williams.
Hello, everyone. I played from 1997 to 2001 season. I am a mother, married to Anthony Williams, mother of 2 amazing boys. I currently serve as a student support facilitator for students with disabilities in Henry County Schools, Georgia. I also serve as an adjunct instructor, health and wellness instructor at Gordon College, online and hybrid. And I'm the co-founder of a nonprofit, Atlanta South Hoops. I'm glad to be here.
All right, next we have Ms. Jama Wright.
Okay, I must be the old one. I played for Coach Tilley 89 to 93. 89, yeah. I am back in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area. My husband and I have a Mexican taqueria restaurant in downtown Woodstock, and combined we have 7 kids total with 2 grandkids on the way. Busy, 3 in college.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, our final player is a current Warhawk, Caitlin Carter.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Carter. I'm from Bessemer, Alabama, and I'm an upcoming senior this year. I joined the team last year. I transferred from Snead State Community College, and that's what I'm doing now. Current Warhawk.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're blessed to be joined today by coaches of both the past and present. And first, we have a man who served AUM for nearly 20 years as both our head women's basketball coach and as an athletic director, and that's Coach Steve Krotz.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. I guess I came to AUM in 96 and coached then through 2008. And then in 2008, I took over as the athletic director and carried that on until I left and retired in 2015. Currently living in Belgium. My wife is originally from here in Oostende, Belgium, and we have 2 kids. Our daughter Kelsey is actually back in the States now. Just finished up her 2nd year in college, which is hard to believe, but it's true.
And next we have our program's inaugural head women's basketball coach, and the man who was so pivotal in just laying the foundation for this program, and that's Coach Colby Tilley.
It was an honor, really a privilege to be hired to do that. I was there for 10 years, enjoyed all 10 years. Then I moved on to Kennesaw State for 17 years, and now I'm retired and just doing what I want to do. Right now, I'm presently on a mission trip. I had to come into town to get Wi-Fi. So if you hear a lot of noise in the background, it's McDonald's where I'm at.
I know we could all go for a McFlurry right now for sure, Coach. And finally, we have our current women's basketball head coach in Sean Page. Coach Page, if you don't mind, can you just introduce yourself to the audience and give them a little bit of your backstory about your coaching career and how you got to AUM?
Well, I'm Sean Page. I'm the current women's basketball coach at AUM. I just completed my second season here. You can probably tell by my accent, I'm actually from Australia, but I have been in the US for 20 years. I'm a dual citizen. I'm a US citizen, married to an American, and so I'm a dual citizen, but I've been here 20 years. Spent my first 5 years coaching. I played here back in the 80s, actually, but in California. But I spent my first 5 years coaching at the Division I level as an assistant. I was at Boise State for a year, and then I went to Troy State University, just down the road, and that's my link to Alabama originally. And I then took my first head coaching job in the US at a school in Kentucky. I was there for a couple of years, had some success, and then went to Newberry College in Newberry, South Carolina. I was there for 10 years and had an opportunity to join the program at AUM a couple of years back and really jumped at the chance. And, I'm a little bit humbled to be sitting in the presence, even if it's virtually in the presence of all you guys and two of the great coaches here, because we're in a position here where we haven't maybe achieved some of the goals we've set for ourselves, but we're in a position where we're really trying to build this program at the Division II level. So we're excited, and like I said, I said it before we started, but every day I walk into the arena there and I look up at the banners the banners on the wall with all the national tournament appearances and the Final Fours and the conference championships and the retired jerseys in the banner and in the rafters and realize how lucky I am to be there. And I'm just excited to keep moving the program forward.
Well, guys, if you've got a question for us today, this is talking to our audience. If you've got a question today, our viewers, please drop us a comment. We'd love to hear back from you and just hear what you have to say. Any questions you might have, please leave us a comment. Whether you're tuning in to us via Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, we appreciate you tuning in. And feel free to drop us a comment to kind of help keep the conversation going. And we'll be glad to get to them at some point today. But we're going to start today with a little Q&A session with both our players and our coaches. And we'll pick up where we left off with our coaches. And Coach Krotz, we'll start with you. First off, just congrats on being named as an inductee into our 2019 Hall of Fame class. Anybody that knows anything about our women's basketball program and our athletic program in general, that they know how important both your leadership as both a head coach and an athletic director were to getting our department to where we are now. And for that, we thank you, and we're forever indebted for your countless years of direction and guidance as a leader within AUM athletics. But with all that being said, and having been, in both a coaching and administrative role, how would you personally summarize your time at AUM?
Well, Jacob, thank you very much for those words. It was a lot of change. It was a lot of change that went on during that time. I guess the biggest thing for me was the change from being a coach and a co-worker, a colleague of my other coaches, to then being in charge of the department and then trying to implement a lot of those changes. That to me was probably the most challenging aspect of it. But being at AUM, as I said earlier, our two children were born while we were there, and we made tremendous friends. But the biggest impact for me was the lives that interacted with us during that time from our student athletes, watching them grow, seeing the doctorates, that you got sitting right there with you, and the coaches and just the many ways that they're out in the communities in which they live now and are touching their lives.
And I know you said one of the challenges was, going from being colleagues, to some of your coaches and staff members to being, their boss as an athletic director. Can you talk a little bit more about just some of the differences and just some of the challenges you faced right away from going to coaching to leading the department?
Well, I think one of the things about a great coach is taking players where they don't really know they want to go. Sometimes trying to, motivate them and to get them to work harder. And I think the same is true within a working department, to have their back, to support them, but at the same time, go through a lot of changes that they may not want to really do. And let's be honest, we had a lot of changes going on during that time. I'm looking from behind you as a banner, of the Warhawks, and that in and of itself was a challenge, trying to change the mascot, promote it, to brand it, and the NCAA Division II change was huge. The facilities, the adding of sports of which went on. All of that took just a lot of massaging, and without the support of the administration and certainly our coaching staff as well, none of that would ever have happened.
Well, like you said, I know it was a lot of change, and none of that would have happened without your leadership at the helm. So we really do appreciate that. And as far as just getting us to where we are, Coach Tilley, I mentioned earlier that you laid the foundation for this program as the inaugural head coach when the program began in 1986. And that's a term, that shouldn't be taken lightly, because, you won over 200 games at AUM. That's roughly about 75% of every game you coached in resulted in a victory while at AUM. And that started as soon as you got to campus. We won 20 or more games in each of our first 3 seasons. Can you just talk a little bit about the process of starting up the program and just how we were able to have so much success right off the bat?
Well, I can say I really wasn't sure what I was doing when I got there. I had never started a program from scratch. I think every coach wants to do that. And it was a challenge that all coaches like, I think. And I remember getting there for an interview, and there was a man there by the name of Coach Saya. And he was showing me around. He showed me where the office was going to be. And it was up there in the corner. They may still be there, I don't know, but it was up in the corner where the office was going to be. He opened the door, and it was just an equipment room. Every wall was painted a different green color, and you couldn't walk through it because he said, "Don't worry about this. We'll have it fixed when you get here." When I came in, about a month later, I came in, and they had it fixed. The walls were painted, and there was a metal desk in the front of in the middle of the room, and a telephone, and that was it. And so I'm sitting there thinking, what have I just done? And but it turned out to be a really, really good experience for me. It was a challenge the first year. We didn't have any games. We just recruited, bought uniforms, bought equipment, those kinds of things. And I was coming from a junior college background. I had coached for 10 years at a junior college. And so we brought in, every player we brought in was a junior college kid, except for one was a high school player from Auburn High School. Because I didn't really want to take 4 years or 3 years to build a program after that whole first year trying to get people excited about it. We started a program called Adopted Parent Program, where each one of our players had adopted parents. They might be faculty members, they might be members in the community. But it was just a lot of fun to be there. I can say I enjoyed going to work, I think, every day. So when I left, it was a big step to leave. I really hated to leave in one respect, because I have such great memories of it. But I was so glad that Steve came behind us, and he just built upon that, and the women's basketball program was, nationwide, was respected. And so I'm just glad I was a part of it.
We certainly, Coach, we certainly thank you for just said laying that foundation and helping us get to where we are now as a program. My next question is kind of for all 3 coaches, and I'll let Coach Page go first, since I haven't asked him anything aside from his background yet. And Coach Kratz and you, Coach Tilley, you can chime in as you feel necessary. But Coach Page, and for you guys as well, just talk about the game of basketball and just how you feel like it's changed over your time. Style of play, strategies, other various elements, just from when you began to now. Can you just talk about some of the changes that you've experienced?
Well, man, I'll keep it brief, but obviously with my international background, I've been in the, my parents ran a professional basketball club in Australia for 40 years. So I grew up in that environment. I had a chance to come over here and play in the 80s. And then, I've been coaching here since 2000, 2001. And just, I think the biggest change that you've seen in the game is, and I'm talking, basketball generally, but if you look at the women's side, is the players are better. The women's players are bigger, faster, stronger, more skilled. And I think the game has evolved because of and again, with my international background, I think I've seen it a little bit. is because of the growth of the sport internationally. So you've seen, and I think the influence of the European or the international game, I should say European, but I think, the Southern Hemisphere, Australia, New Zealand has impacted it as well. But I think you've probably seen that international style of basketball really creep into the US, and, where there's a lot more open play, the big kids can all shoot it a little bit and everyone's pretty well skilled and all that sort of stuff. So that's probably the biggest change for me of the female athlete, the female, development of the game overall, in terms of the game's become a lot more positionless. Everyone plays every position now pretty much.
And for our retired coaches, can you guys just talk about the game, kind of piggybacking off of what Coach Page said? Just talk about some of the evolutions of the game that you experienced while coaching, and some of the changes just from when you began to when you hung up that you noticed.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Tilly or Kobe, thank you very much. I guess, as I was looking back at my high school coaching situation, there was no three-pointer. There was still a large ball, but we didn't use the smaller ball. Every time you looked at each other, it was a jump ball. It was a held ball every time you got even close. In fact, I coached in Missouri, and the state next to us, Iowa, was still playing 3-on-3 half court at that time. And so, wow, what a change that has been. There was no shot clock, certainly. We went from quarters to college at halves, and now we're back to quarters again. So, but I want to reiterate too what Sean said. The players, the skill level, the athleticism has just evolved and developed so much since I started. There's no comparison. And a lot of that's due to just exposure and opportunity and flat out hard work. And that's one of the reasons that we were able to not fall flat on our face after following Colby, is that, we just got some athletes in there that could flat out play. And so, it wasn't my coaching, it was certainly their playing.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Steve. I was very lucky and very fortunate to get some great players, and some of Sean's players from Australia were very good for us. And I agree with the ability has gotten better. The rules have changed. But I started in 1975, so about after 40 years, I saw a big transition in players. And this is not in a negative way, it's just the times. Players' attitudes toward wanting to put the time in to be really, really good. And there were distractions you had to deal with, trying to get the players motivated. Not all of them, but enough of them to make your job a headache sometimes. And so, but there were some great players who had great attitudes, and they're the ones who really had some great experiences too. But that was the biggest change for me, and that's just me. That might not be for anybody else, but for me, it was because when I expected a player, when they came out on the court, and all the time between those lines, they gave it all. And sometimes it was tough for me to accept some things, but that was just me, and it did hasten my retirement. I'll be honest with you.
Well, can I just jump in there, mate? I don't want to take up any much of your time, but I think Steve hit on a really good point for all the young ladies that have passed, and obviously we've still got one playing. The opportunity for women, I think, has greatly increased, and that's given most of you guys a chance to play at this level. So I think that's really a huge part of it as well, that female athletes are really given opportunities they probably weren't given 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago.
Cool. Well, now we're going to try to get a little bit of a player's perspective now of each coach, from the players, from them in here. Hailey and Dr. Williams, both you had the privilege of playing for Coach Crotch during your time at AUM. And I'll let Hailey, you can answer this first, and Dr. Williams, you can chime in when she's done. But can you just kind of describe to us what it was like playing for a Steve Crotch coach team?
Well, I'll say, first of all, I liked how Coach Crotch described his way of making you uncomfortable in such a nice light. I'm sure Crystal can attest to that, saying that, it wasn't always the nicest way of doing things, but I had never played basketball in such a methodical way as Coach Crotch taught it. And it was just amazing what I learned that first year of being there with him, coming from a very small town, very small school. And just having to come out there and just really relearn the game of basketball and all that I had, been accustomed to. And he did. He pushed me to limits that I didn't even know I had, and it really shaped me within the those years that came after that, of the player and the person that I am, and even now the coach that I am. And I'm sure he'll love to hear that I still use a lot of his little scenarios and some of his sayings that just pop out. So good job, Coach. You kind of ingrained them in me, man. And I hadn't gotten to where I give my kids roses on their birthdays or anything like that yet, but working towards it. But it was just amazing, because you won't meet a mind that knows basketball like Coach Kratz. I mean, he just knows it inside and out. The way he thinks the game, as opposed to the physical aspect of it, was just something that a lot of people take for granted these days, because the physicality has changed in all of that today. But it was truly a great experience, and all that I learned and was able to do with him.
Yeah, Hailey, I would concur with what you just said. The detail that Coach Kratz put into practice and game and scouting was nothing that I had ever experienced coming from a small town, Milledgeville, Georgia. I had to relearn the game. We talked when you think about just the organization of practice, having a daily expectation of what is expected, what's the learning goal for practice. We had practice plans and scouting reports. And the goal of the practice plans and scouting reports, he posted it on the locker room door so that we are aware of what the expectation was. And then by the time you got to your senior year, you were taking the practice plans and letting everybody know what we need to get started with. And just breaking the game down. My first 2 years, it was a huge learning curve for me, and gaining a better understanding of the AUM system, the AUM offense, AUM defense, the running part and the strength training part. That wasn't a big deal for me because I had a track background. But the biggest thing was, again, just the detail that he put into the game, breaking skills down, breaking down offense, learning the other team's information was a whole nother level. And, Coach Kratz has a lot of players that are currently coaching on different levels, high school, middle school, JUCO, even some 4-year schools as well. And I definitely think that is because of how he was a teacher of the game, not just coaching, but a teacher of the game. And then as far as when game time happened, the work that we put in during practice time and the details and the attention to detail that we put in during practice time, the games were easy because of how we were so prepared. And Coach hit it on he was talking about, he had great players, but I truly believe that when you have great players and great teachers, you can create the win percentages like Coach Kratz and Coach Tilley has been able to do in their career at AUM. And so that speaks volume for, the program and the quality of coaches that we've had.
Now, Torrey, you got to interact with Coach Kratz from a different side as an athletic director during your career at AUM. Can you just talk for a little bit about your experiences with him and your interactions when he was leader of our department?
I'm not big on talking, but you hear the phone, like the static breaking up a little bit.
Okay. All right. I can hear you now.
Jason, you repeat?
Yeah.
Repeat it one more time. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I understand.
Repeat it one more time.
This is part of it. Do you want to hear the question again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what you thought. You got to play when Coach Kratz was our athletic director. I just wanted to, if you want for a second, just talk about your experience, just in your interactions with him as an athletic director.
Oh, I mean, number one, he was a great athletic director. I think one thing that stood out most is support and just basically his leadership. I mean, that's the main two.
I think that's something that we can definitely all agree on. Now, Jamit, you had the privilege of playing for Coach Tilley during your time at AUM, and you're not going to get exempt from this question, just like the players have. But can you describe for us what it was like playing under him and just your experiences under on a Coach Tilley coach team?
Yeah, it was a privilege playing for Coach Tilley. And as much as we all knew the game, it was more to me about the life lessons and the character building and friendship building that Coach Tilley instilled in all of us that meant most to me. And I know a lot of my teammates at the time. I mean, we had good records. We were a great team. We were respected. But it was more the relationships and what he taught us off the court that meant the most.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that question, we asked Coach Till a little bit earlier. When you got to AUM, our program was still in its infant stages. But you come in and your sophomore, junior, senior seasons, we win 20 plus games each year and finish off your senior campaign with a deep run into NAI national tournament. So for you, were some of those things you just talked about, just the camaraderie, the team chemistry, were some of those things just key factors into why you guys were so successful and were able to grow our program into something that it's become?
I definitely think so. Back when I played, most of us came from pretty strong high school teams. I know my high school team, we were in state all 4 years of my high school career. So, I mean, we knew basketball, but it was kind of everything else. But I think just Coach Tilley laying the foundation, and with his knowledge of basketball and the way he taught us on the court, it was also, as he mentioned, the relationships with the adoptive parent program and just getting us to be one unit and respecting each other and trusting each other as a team.
Well, Caitlin, you're not going to get off the hook for this either. Without getting into too much trouble with Coach Page, can you just describe to us what it's been like playing for Coach Page this last year and just your experiences and your interactions with him throughout your junior season?
It's been really good so far. I think the biggest thing for me is coming from my background. He's been teaching me a lot more of the fundamentals. I'm used to playing basketball more of, just with the junior college background and my high school is trying to out athlete people. So I think with his international experience, he's been teaching me a lot more about the fundamentals and just thinking about the game as like a whole and not just going out there and playing. So I've been learning a lot and it's been good.
Good answer. Well done.
Like I said, I know we wanted to kind of tiptoe around that. I didn't want to put you in a bad position. So I think you get approval from both myself and Sean on that one. So nice job. Well, hey Hailey, I think we can all agree that you had a very unique career at AUM. It was broken up, into 05, 06, 07 through 09, and then 10 through 11 to finish it out. Can you just talk a little bit about your journey and some of the lessons you learned from all the ups and all the downs?
Yeah, sure. I really did have a unique journey, and it was very, at the time, you think it's the worst thing that could ever happen to you, but looking back, it really was just a vital part of my life. And I had a great, freshman campaign, but by most people's standards, and kind of surprised even myself, because I, coming from a small school, didn't really expect to play much less, have the career that I did. But after my freshman year, the day before our first game, I tore my ACL. And, I remember Coach Cripes trying to encourage me and tell me, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. We'll get it fixed and all this. And, I'm thinking, gosh, like career is just over with, what do I do from here? And, it really just taught me, he gave me the chance to travel more with the team and be more of a coaching sidekick, essentially. Where I would kind of, I filmed the games, but then he let me do film work and work on scouts with him. He actually taught me how to do one of his scouting reports, which, like Crystal mentioned, were extremely detailed. It was straight down to the tendency of each and every player, and we were expected to know those kind of things. So, it really just taught me a better appreciation for what he did as a coach, and for, what the players were expected to learn. And so, came back my junior year, redshirt sophomore year, and, had mediocrity at best. And, it was, again, one of those times where he made me uncomfortable. He looked me in the eye and was like, you are not where you should be. And you really have got to do something to, change your circumstances. And, I think that was when I had to sit down and really just reevaluate, what my goal in my women's basketball journey was with AUM, and of course we always hear about, this and that, the national tourney runs, how good that everyone was in the past. And, I really had to reevaluate what I was doing, and that was a big turning point for me. So, I got back in the weight room, really hit it hard. I decided to get rid of the knee brace because that was just a mental reminder for me that I had a weakness. And once I did that, came on to have a really good junior year, and of course, my the second day of school, couldn't wait to get back in the gym during my 5th year, and tore my other ACL playing pickup. And again, was faced with that adversity on what I was going to do with my career. And I had set myself a goal that I wanted to score 1,000 points, and I was about 100 shy. And much at I'm sure Coach Krause will agree with me. I don't think he really would have made the choice that I made to drop out of school, but he found a loophole for me in the NAIA, and we found a loophole where I could withdraw from school and kind of quote unquote hide until the spring semester. And once I got back in the spring semester, I was able to graduate, and that gave me another year of eligibility where I was able to come back and play for another year. And at this time, Coach Krause was the athletics director, and he really just did whatever he could to kind of to push me to get to that point. But it was life changing. I mean, when you come to a school to play basketball and to get an education, you don't ever think about injuries and having to be sidelined and not be able to play with your team and do what you love to do. But again, I used it every advantage to try to learn how to coach the game essentially, and to critique the game and to pick the game apart, so that I would be a better coach in the future. Because at that point, that's what I decided that I wanted to do. I knew that's where I was going to go in life. I knew that was going to be my calling, and it really was just very eye-opening as to everything that was going on around me. And then decided to stick it out for a little while and came on as the grad assistant, and then was hired as the assistant coach in 2012. And loved coaching at the collegiate level, but I had my first son in 2015, and kind of decided that I needed something that kept me at home a little bit more, and was able to get a high school coaching job, because of the experience that I had at AUM.
Well, if there's one thing us administrators can agree on, is that it's not. It can be a lifestyle sometimes that's not conducive to raising young children. So we do understand that transition for you. But Dr. Williams, you had one of the most decorated careers in AUM women's basketball history. A 3-time All-American, our program's leader in career rebounds, second in points, and one of just 2 players in our entire program with both 1,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. Just a question about that. The coming into college, was the mindset that you had, did you want to be that dominant of a player, or for you, was it just more about the results, and those were just the numbers that kind of fell into place as a result of that?
Those were the byproduct of just my work. I shared with you that my first 2 years, it was a huge transition from being the player, one of the go-to players at my high school, to relearning the game of basketball. And so my commitment to my competitiveness and my commitment to wanting to master or get better at this craft, it was the byproduct of, the 1,900 points and 1,500 rebounds. I didn't set out to be an All-American or a Hall of Famer. Like I said, those things just happened because of great teammates, great coaches, and my work ethic.
It's definitely something that hasn't gone unnoticed. Like I said, a very accomplished career. And speaking of accomplished careers, hey, Torrey, just 4 years ago, just think about this. You were leading our women's basketball program to the top of the Southern States Athletic Conference as a 2-time All-SSAC selection, 2015-16 Conference Player of the Year, NAIA Player of the Year. To me, it doesn't feel like that long ago. I was around as a student, kind of helping out with some stuff. What about you? How often do you relive those days? Does it feel like it was that long ago for you?
Honestly, it does. I don't know why. When I read the email and I saw 4 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, that was like 4 years ago. But for some reason, it do feel a little longer than that. I do replay films and reminisce the gym wise, or just the atmosphere again. So 4 years does sound like a long time ago to me.
And obviously, and obviously you were surrounded with a lot of talent as well. I mean, you were one of the many cogs in the machines of those teams. You had an NAI All-American in Regatta Craig. We had our all-time 3-point field goal leader in Caitlin Withrow, who was an all-conference selection multiple times. Can you just talk about some of those teams you were on the last couple of years of your career, and just how much fun it was to be surrounded by that talent?
That was a great. I think my senior year was probably the best year for me. Just being able to playing with Kayla, playing with Gotti. Now you got me. I can't even remember half of my teammates, but honestly, it was a great year. It might have been like my best year. I told myself, I know Dan Davis was probably one of the hardest coaches to me because he would challenge us so many. He would challenge us every single day. But honestly, I think my senior year is probably my best year for myself.
Oh yeah, you've definitely got the numbers to back it up for sure. I think that's a very airtight logic from your part, and that brings us to Caitlin. Like we've already mentioned, current member of the women's basketball team. Caitlin, I know you talked about it a little bit, but can you elaborate a little bit more on your path to AUM? Playing for Coach Lashina Nation, who's our assistant now, but for a little bit of time at Snead State, and then eventually coming over here in 2019. Can you just talk about just what ultimately sold you on being a Warhawk?
Okay, so a little about my path to AUM. So coming out of high school, I actually had 0 offers. And I actually didn't get the offer to my junior college either. I went to a tryout and then I ended up getting the offer. So during that time, I had a good freshman year and I had the opportunity to leave then, but I decided I was going to come back. Me and Coach L, y'all know her as Coach Nation. Lashina, I call her Coach L, but we decided to stick it out, come back, and I had a really good sophomore year too. And then that's when Coach Page started recruiting me, and he was just really consistent with coming watching me play. He was reaching out, just really showing that he was really interested, and that felt good to me because, like I said, in my process, I know I was been through the point where you don't have anything. So at that time, I did have a few offers, but when I came to my visit, I just liked the fact that Coach Page, he was so honest, he was so upfront with me, and I really liked the school not only for basketball, but I like academics too. I'm really my academics are really important to me. So the school AUM just period was a good situation for me. And I don't know, I just really wanted to be a part of that. I know this was the first year that we were going to be able to compete in D2 postseason, and I like challenges. So I want to be on a team where we can make history, and we still can. So that's what sold me.
Hey, well, let's just be honest. You just didn't want to get away from Coach L, did you? That was it.
We came together. We stuck together.
Just a package deal.
Yeah.
Well, hey, shifting gears a little bit. Obviously, we wouldn't all be in our situations we're in right now if not for the COVID-19 situation. It's affected us all. And last week, Caitlin, we had a student-athlete representative from all 11 sports on our first episode of AUM Athlete Access. And we asked them this question, and I thought it would only be fitting to ask you this question also, since you're all kind of in similar situations. But in light of all of this, the current situation with quarantining, social distancing, has it affected any of your physical and mental preparation for what we hope will come in the upcoming year?
Not really, honestly. During the first couple of months when we were home, I just really had to focus on doing what I can at home as far as staying physically fit and stuff. But the church, I actually work out of church's First Baptist Pleasant Grove. They've opened back up and they've been really good with helping us, stay safe, but being able to get in the gym. So I'm still working. It really hasn't changed anything for me. I'm still keeping a positive mindset. It's all about your mindset going into it. So I'm not gonna let it stop me.
The right mindset to have. Hey, we're going to shift gears here a little bit, and I wanted to have a little bit of fun on this chat today. And what we're going to do, we're going to kind of reopen the yearbook for our guys and even our coaches and really test their memory, see how good their memories are. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask each panelist a question involving either stats from like the previous game or team or season they were a part of, and see if they can come up with the right answer for me. And so, Caitlin, we're going to start with you. Some of this should be fresh on your mind, but I've got a question for you that involves one of our games. So on February 13th, we won at Shorter University. 4 players scored in double figures during that game. We also scored a season high in points. Can you name the other 3 players that scored in double figures? And can you name the number of points that we scored in that game?
At Shorter.
At Shorter on February the 13th.
Vic Morales.
Vic was one, yes.
Jordan.
Jordan was the other. We got one more.
Big Jordan.
Think,
I'm getting lost. I'm gonna take a while.
I'll give you. I was gonna give you a hint and say a think post player.
Maya Lee.
Jemiah, like, so Vic had 23,
Yeah.
Jordan had 17, Maya had 14, and yourself had 13. I'm going to give you one more. I'd like to think that your breakout game kind of was against Southern Wesleyan on November 16th. It was an 81-54 home win. Can you give us your point total from that game and how many threes you made? This is Southern Wesleyan 81-54 win.
22 points, 5 threes.
You got it. 22 points.
Yeah.
They remember those games like that, don't they, Coach Page? They remember the wins.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to shift to another card here. Torrey, I've got a couple little trivia factoids for you. In 2015-16, we talked about, in addition to being NAIA Player of the Year, All-American, you averaged, you were NAIA Player of the Year. Can you give us your point total average from that year? Your senior season, 2015-16.
Was it like 15, average 15 points a game? I have no idea.
More than that. It was more than that.
Oh,
a little bit higher. I'll give you one more guess.
Was it 20?
You averaged 20.7 points per game during your senior campaign. I'll give you one more. You also set the single season steals record for our program in 2015-16. You know about how many you got? Can you give me a round number you think you got that year?
Ooh, maybe I should look back in the book too, huh?
Between 100 and 200. I'll give you a hint.
It was like 160 something or 120 something. I honestly.
168. You were close. 168, and that is the all-time single season record. That was one of the, like I said, statistically speaking, one of the best seasons we've ever seen from women's basketball players. So I know you wanted to talk about it a little bit. I know that was a big year for you. Now, all right. So Hailey, this next question is for you. This one is getting pretty specific, but I think you're up for the challenge. In your freshman season, 05-06, we gave up a season low in points in an opening round win of the conference tournament. This is 05-06. Do you remember who we beat and how many points?
I think it was Shorter. We beat Shorter like 66-33, something like that.
That is correct. We gave up only 33. That's a nice job. We gave up 33 points to Shorter. And, it was against Shorter. We won 64-33. That was our lowest point total there. I'm going to hit you with one more since you seem so confident on that answer. All right. As of right now, we have updated record books on our online database. You rank 4th all-time in free throws made, 6th in free throw percentages. Can you remember how many career free throws you made?
Oh, man, the free throws made, there's no way. But I'm going to guess I was around 79-80% for percentage.
Oh, my goodness. I think you've done your homework. You were a 79.4% shooter, and that is 6th best in our record among qualified players, and you made 323. So nice job, man. You really
Hey, I got to use that for bragging rights with my players now, man.
I was about to say, that's just the coaching aspect and you remembering numbers and all that stuff. So that's nice job there, Hailey. All right, Dr. Williams, I've got a couple for you here now.
Okay.
All right. We won 89% of our games from the 99-2000 season to the 2000-2001 season. That was your junior and senior year. How many combined wins did we have during those two seasons?
64.
Oh, close. We went 67-8 over your junior and senior. That's not too bad. Roughly 90% of our games. That's not a bad finish. I got one more for you. So on March 2nd of the 1999-2000 season, we set a team record for rebounds against Southern Wesleyan. Do you remember how many rebounds we got that game as a team? It's an all-time record.
40.
Oh, way more than that.
I have no idea. Let's shoot for 65.
Close. We had 74 rebounds in that game. 19 of those were yours. Not a bad day on the glass.
Not a bad day.
Not a bad day at all. Hey, James, I got one for you here now. I know it's been a minute since we've since we've asked you anything or kind of brought you to life, but all right. So we set the team record for steals your senior season, 92, 93. Do you remember about how many steals we had from that year? Can you give me a ballpark number?
Coach Tilly, you gonna help me out?
20 years, 30 years ago.
Right.
I'll give you a hint. Think halfway to 100.
50.
I mean 1,000. I meant to say 1,000. Halfway to 1,000. 1,000, not 100. That'd be a decent game.
500.
We had five. Yes, ma'am. We had 536 steals as a team that year. That's still a record. You know how many you had that year, or do you think you have an idea? Ballpark number. Think about my first clue. I got my clues mixed up.
50.
57 in that season, and that was a team high. I mean, with teammates like Lee Swanson, our all-time leading scorer, Natasha Pittman, so many others. I know it was understandable. You had a ton of opportunities to collect assists. This kind of leads me to my next question. You currently rank third all time in assists in our program history, and it's kind of a two-part question. How many do you think you have, and what former teammate is above you in second place for all-time assists?
Karen Duncan, is she ahead of me for assists?
Pam Holloway has 5.
Pam
Holloway had 5, and you finished with 455.
Okay. That was my job. I was a point guard. It was my job.
and a pretty good job you did of it. I'm going to ask some trivia questions to our coaches now. Coach Tilly, we had our longest win streak under you in 94-95 that season. Do you remember how many games it was?
How many in a row?
How many in a row? Yes, sir.
I'm going to say 22.
Close. We won 26 games from December the 10th of 94 to March 17th of 1995, and that is still a record.
Wow.
Some really good basketball.
There's been some great teams past that too. That's amazing. That record still sticks.
Yes, sir. Still holds.
As far as Dr. Williams is concerned, every coach in the state of Georgia was wanting her when she was in high school. And so she chose AUM, and it turns out really well for her, obviously.
Absolutely. Hey, wait, Coach Krotz, this next one's for you. To no surprise, our fewest points allowed came in a game with you as head coach. Like I said, to no surprise there. Do you remember how many points it was? And bonus points if you can guess the team it was we did it against.
I'm going to say the team was Hannibal LaGrange.
Yes, sir, LaGrange. Yeah, that's correct. Do you remember the point total?
15.
Oh, 16. That's not bad though. We gave up just 16 points until LaGrange, and that was on January 16th of the year 2000. And I've got a question for you too, Coach Page. I know I didn't want to leave you out. Can you name, like I said, you might be able, like I said, some of this should be fresh on your memory, so you definitely should get this right. But can you name the starting 5 from our first win at AUM? Your first
My
win.
first win.
Yes,
yeah. Jordan Brewster, Victoria Morales, Aaliyah Millard, KK Bullard.
Yep.
And that's 4.
Think about our leading rebounder in 2018-19.
Ouch.
You don't have to tell me. I'm sorry. I don't want to waste too much time thinking about it. Who was that?
Maya.
He already said.
Oh, he said Maya.
No. Maya didn't play in 18-19.
I can't think of it, mate.
It was Evelina Obliva.
Oh yeah, Evelina. I'm sorry.
That was our.
I hope she's not watching, Evelina. If you're watching, I'm sorry.
That was our 5. That was our 5.
Sorry.
That was our 5 for pretty much every game. I'm a little.
Yeah, well, I just, I'm sorry.
bonus question from that. You got a chance to redeem yourself. All right, Jordan Brewster scored a career high in points in that game. Do you remember how many points she had in the win against Shorter?
Oh, she had 33.
32.
Yeah, right. 32.
32.
I know.
32.
I don't care about. She had 32. 29 were insignificant to the 3 she hit to get us the win with like 5 seconds to go out of an out of bounds play we called. So. Yeah, I remember that game very well because it was our first win as a D2 member. So, well, since I was here anyway. So, yeah, I do remember that one.
Wait, we're going to continue this a little bit longer. I've got some one more thing we're going to do, and then we can let you guys go about with the rest of your day. I was going to read off some stat lines from – these are all games that you guys have played in. So one of the players in here did this at some point in their career, and I'm going to call out a stat line, and I want you guys to give me an idea of who you think recorded those stats, if that's cool. We'll hit on this really quickly. I know we're coming up on that hour mark, but we got some notes here I'm going to read off, and I want to see if you guys can give me some answers. All right. So our first one, 26 points, 10 steals, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds.
Caitlin.
I'm gonna go Torrey.
Hailey's right. It's Torrey Carter did it at Mobile on December 21st of 2015. You had to be feeling pretty good that game, Torrey. Do you remember? Do you have some significant memories from that win?
Nope.
When you're doing it every night,
I was gonna say that was just another night.
Another day. Another day.
Another day in the park for her.
Another day. All right, I another one for you guys. This one's probably going to be pretty easy for those that played with her. All right, I've got 25 points on 10 for 17 shooting, 23 rebounds, 10 offensive rebounds.
Gotta be Crystal.
I gotta say, Dr. Williams.
It was Indeed, it was Crystal Williams against Edward Waters University. Dr. Williams, did the other team get off the bus that day? Like, were they? Because I don't believe that they did. Because I don't think I could do that in an empty gym. To be honest, numbers like that, that's unreal.
Hey, Jacob.
The starter stayed in the locker room.
Jacob.
Coach Kratz, yes.
Crystal used to get assists to herself.
I don't doubt you for 1 second.
She would literally grab the rebound, put it up, go to the other side of the basket, jump up, grab the rebound, put it up. She was incredible. All
right, we'll do a couple.
I don't know whether that's a compliment.
might have been one of those first 2 years.
Yeah, that was the first 2 years. Yeah.
For sure. We'll do a couple more. Like I said, we'll send you guys on your way. This next one, 26 points on 11 of 15 from shooting, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists to boot.
Hailey.
Caitlin.
It was Caitlin Carter against Montevallo. That was back on January the 4th, 11 of 15, and that was in a win against him. Caitlin, that was, I'd have to say, that was probably, when Coach Page, you can probably concur with this too. I'd say that's one of the better games we played from start to finish all year, that win over Montevallo, that 69-50 win at their place.
Yeah, that was a big win for us on the road. So, yeah, for sure. And Caitlin was outstanding that night and really carried us, especially down the stretch, made some big plays when we needed to make big plays. So, I do remember that one distinctly. I remember the game very well.
All right. Got a couple more. All right. 18 points on 9 steals, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists.
Hailey. Nope. Haley hadn't had one.
by that logic, we're getting close. That is correct. But it was it was actually Jana Wright against Mobile.
Jana, okay.
9 steals. That not a bad day defensively there for you, Jana.
Right? Wow. I'm a little impressed.
We're all impressed.
All right, cool. And this last one we have here, 13 points on 11 rebounds and 3 assists.
Hailey.
I'm about to say, by the process of elimination, it was Hailey Mcentire Rosa against Spring Hill College on December 30th of 2008. Do you remember that? Like I said, your takeaway from that game? I mean, I know you were a player that kind of had a more balanced stat line, but do you remember, or like I said, have any takeaways from that contest?
Honestly, I don't. I just remember those games between Christmas, like in that Christmas break, they were always brutal because everybody was out of school and practices were long and study halls were long. And, I just know when we'd come in there for those games, it was like, that was the easy part. We were ready to go. But yeah, and Spring Hill was always such a tough competitor, and, it was a tough game. So I don't remember any details, but that's about it.
Well, guys, we appreciate you hopping in. We're coming up on that 1 hour mark here. We appreciate you guys hopping in. That's going to wrap us up. A big thanks once again to all 8 of our panelists for just taking the time to hop on this Zoom chat and talk about the women's basketball program and just how everyone in here was able to make it such a rich and storied program. And as always, thanks to our producer, Jason Martin, for getting our Zoom chat out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Wouldn't be possible without his efforts. So thank you from that end. And as a reminder, this will be archived immediately after we're done here. So if you'd like to go back and watch again, or maybe you joined late and you have the ability to go back and watch it from start to finish. And of course, a huge thanks to our viewers just for tuning in, all of our fans and faithful supporters. You guys are the driving force behind stuff we do that's like this. And we appreciate all the love and support. You can join us next week for episode 3 of AUM Athlete Access, as we'll talk a little AUM baseball with former players and coaches of the program. Until then, take care, everybody. Be safe and go Warhawks.